By the time Wednesday morning rolled around, we've been hitched for a decade, a handful of teenagers still at home. In about 4 years, we should have an empty nest. Lately, we've been butting heads over money matters, which she pins on me, leading us to couples therapy. For a while now, it's been a real slog to keep things together. I could delve deeper into this, but maybe I'll save it for later. It could just be stress, but my wife has been spending a significant chunk of time away from home in recent months. She works in a different state and often crashes at her sibling's place for a few days to reduce travel time. Recently, she's been more distant, shown zero interest in intimacy, and just seems emotionally absent. She also spends a lot of time at the gym, with her running club, or cycling with her bike group. I can't help but think there's a lot of potential for something to happen since she's frequently around athletic groups and plenty of men. She's fit and attractive. All the warning signs are there, but so far, there's no concrete evidence, no excessive emailing or phone calls. I just can't shake off the discomfort over the changes in the last few months. She's just becoming more and more distant. I've got a voice recorder but haven't tried it in her car yet. I'm still figuring out the best way to conceal it. She makes most of her phone calls while driving, so if anything's going on, that's where it would be happening. I'm also considering installing a GPS tracker in her car. I want to verify if she's genuinely staying at her sibling's place or if she's heading somewhere else. If I'm mistaken, I'll feel like an idiot, but the uncertainty is killing me. Any suggestions for a compact GPS tracking device? Should I opt for a data logging unit or one that provides real-time tracking? I'm looking for something reliable and compact. My wife is planning to be out of town again this week for a few days. I'll first attempt to hide the voice recorder in the car while I wait for the GPS to arrive. I'm hoping that I'm just being overly paranoid and that my suspicions are unfounded. I should have a clearer picture in a few weeks, I think. In the meantime, I'll keep posting updates as things unfold. If my suspicions are confirmed, it's a deal breaker. We've had our fair share of disputes over the years, and this would be the final straw if it turns out to be true. My wife is very headstrong, always thinks she's right, and is quite dominant. She often criticizes me for not standing up to her. She has a sharp tongue and can tear you apart in an argument. I'm more of a laid-back, go-with-the-flow kind of guy. Needless to say, it's been a wild ride so far. A bit more about our background. We're a blended family. We were both single parents before we met. I've come to understand that she married me as a convenient escape from a difficult situation. She's grown to love me over time, in her own words. She was quite the party girl in her college days, while I was more on the reserved side. She's often mentioned how she used to sleep with a lot of guys just for the sake of closeness. She also openly advocates for closeness while dating, comparing it to test driving a car before deciding to buy it. Again, her words. She has a lot of male friends and can be quite flirtatious in her conversations. I've noticed this tends to attract men, and I think she enjoys the attention. We both have full-time jobs, but our schedules are quite different. Her job often requires her to be away from home. I earn more than she does, and my income provides a comfortable lifestyle. I sometimes wonder if this was a major factor in her decision to marry me and a reason why she's still here. I've looked through her emails and Facebook, but she doesn't seem to use either very often, unless she has another account I'm not aware of. Here's another interesting fact. After we got married, I discovered that while we were dating, she was also seeing 2 other guys. She was sleeping with all 3 of us. She said she needed to gather all the facts before deciding who to commit to. I believe this went on for about 3 months. I was oblivious to it at the time. Had I known, I would have bolted. I only found out years later over a few drinks. She found it hilarious and had a good chuckle about it. I, on the other hand, wasn't laughing. I was the most stable, earned the highest salary, and owned a lovely house in a great neighborhood. We were together for about a year before tying the knot, so considering the 3 or so months she was juggling multiple men, that leaves around 8 to 9 months before we got hitched. Of course, the 2 other guys are only the ones she's confessed to. There could have been more, and I'm pretty sure there were. Just before we met, she had been dating for a year or 2. She would never do anything on the first date, or so she claims. But the second date? That's a different story. She's quite assertive and goes after what she wants. I only discovered all this a few years into our marriage. By then, all the kids had formed strong bonds with each other and with us, so I didn't dig deeper. My wife doesn't often raise her voice, but she's very eloquent, can verbally shred you to pieces, and is a pro at making you feel like you're always the problem. She also occasionally uses language that would make a sailor blush. Here's an interesting update. Just last night we were chatting, and the topic of a couple we know who recently split up came up. We suspect the wife was unfaithful and left. We had spotted her around town with another man recently. Anyway, my wife remarked that it was a foolish reason to split up, and that they should just move past it. The wife having an affair and cheating was no big deal. It was trivial, and not something to end a relationship over, in her words. Wow. Now my radar is really pinging, and I let her comments slide. Right now, I'm in stealth mode, trying to gather evidence. If I find anything, that'll be the final straw. I've endured so much over the past decade that if I discover she's had an affair, I won't even contemplate reconciliation. In one of our counseling sessions, my wife declared that I needed to man up. I guess she might be out there looking for a stand-in pair herself these days. We used to be intimate several times a week, but for the past 3 months, it's been maybe once every 3 weeks, and then she wants it over in 5 minutes so she can get some sleep. She's often exhausted at night and has started taking sleeping pills at home. This means she's fast asleep by 9:30 p.m. Not much going on most nights. Interestingly, last night she was very open to intimacy. That caught me off guard. Another detail I forgot to mention: about a month ago, we started consulting a financial advisor together to sort out some debt and save for the kids' college. In one of those meetings, my wife suggested the idea of getting a divorce as a potential solution. The idea was that she would live separately and assume most of the debt. Given that my credit card is maxed out and some student loans are in my name, I told her that was the most absurd idea I'd ever heard, and I wasn't on board. We both maintain separate bank accounts and credit cards. The more I recall these events, the more I see a pattern of warning signs. I'm seriously considering confronting her and directly asking about a potential affair. However, I don't want to show my cards and cause her to become more secretive. I'm usually at home with the kids most nights, and I would miss that if we got a divorce. Oddly enough, the marriage feels more like a business partnership now. I'm home to steer the ship while she works. She handles stuff related to the kids, and so on. We're almost like roommates sharing a house. Her sibling is seldom home, and my wife uses it as a place to crash, usually by herself. If my wife was having an affair with a coworker, I can't think of a more perfect arrangement for her. I'm eager for the GPS tracker to provide me with some information. I'm being patient and want to gather some evidence myself. Her workplace is a 1.5-hour drive from me, so it's not exactly easy to drop by for a check. I already got the VR headset. It seems to be working fine. I've got the Velcro, and I just need the chance to install it in her car when no one is around. It's not a big deal, though. I have to stay away for an extra night this week because of my work schedule, so she's usually home for about 3 to 4 nights a week. On a typical week, we only have one night where we can all sit down and have dinner together as a family. She knows I'm not happy about it, but I just need to toughen up. I need to find my own activities, clubs, or sports center where I can take some time off regularly, like a day or 2 at a time. It would be good for me. Deep down, I've always wanted to be home, though. It's important for the kids to have at least one parent there all the time to provide some stability. I understand that the W has valid reasons for staying overnight due to work, and I know her work schedule. She commutes back and forth. Apart from that, I'm not sure what goes on during her shifts. She usually works 12-hour night shifts, about 3 days a week, and the commute is tough. Since she's a nurse, there's not really an option for her to work from home. I have no idea what's happening there. There's still a possibility. Hopefully it's just my imagination. But anyway, I'm wondering if these units are affected by where they're placed in a car. I want to make sure it's hidden and tucked away really well. She's at the track again tonight. I'm hoping to install the VR in the car soon. She's had the car almost constantly, and I've been caught up with work and finances. We have a joint checking account for shared expenses, but we also maintain separate bank accounts. I have no clue how she manages her money or how much she has in her account. I'm more open about my finances as I've been busy with counseling sessions and such. On top of that, I've been working long hours at my job, which has become really demanding and stressful lately, adding to the strain. I've been putting in a lot of unpaid overtime. So far, there's no clear evidence of anything. With the PH and VR, My wife is creating more distance and pulling away. I'm not sure what's happening. It could be that she's emotionally punishing me, or maybe she's having an affair. The bond between us feels like a distant memory. We've been doing our own separate things while living under the same roof. I might just give her permission to see other guys lately. I don't really care that much anymore. I'm just worn out. We went to couples counseling last night, and she said she doesn't want a divorce because she doesn't believe in it. I don't want a divorce either, but life is too short to spend it with someone if both of us are miserable together. I always consider divorce as an option, and I shared all of this with her. So last night, we had an intense and emotional discussion about our relationship, trying to understand why she's so unhappy and where we want to go from here and so on. I haven't mentioned anything about cheating or affairs yet. She seems unaware of my suspicions, and that's okay. I want to gather some solid evidence before accusing her of anything. The GPS and VR haven't revealed anything really incriminating so far. There have been a few suspicious brief conversations, but they could easily be explained as friendly chats with her friends. It's been a month, and I've tried various things, but still haven't found anything. The major issue now is that things have gotten out of hand at home with my teenage son acting out and causing conflicts, to the point where we even involved the police. On top of that, work is getting more intense, and I have to work weekends now, so the whole relationship situation has taken a back seat for the time being. I'm still vigilant, but I need to focus on my son right now. Man, when problems come, they come all at once. I still suspect something because she's changed physically around the same time she started being away more often. I mean, she's less available, not in the mood, and pushing me away. Hopefully, I'll get back on track soon and have more to report. I apologize for being away so much. It's mainly due to issues with my stepson. He actually clashes more with his mom than with me. That's interesting. Anyway, his dad took his own life when he was just a toddler, so he carries a lot of emotional baggage. I'm doing my best to support him through it all. Meanwhile, I can't get the images of my wife with someone else out of my mind, and they're definitely not something you'd see in a PG-rated movie. I straight up asked her if she's ever thought about being with another guy, and she got really irritated with me. I don't want to push the issue without concrete evidence. I need to find a private investigator. I barely have 30 minutes each day for myself. It's hard to find time for anything funny. The more you work, the less time you have for happiness, fulfillment, and your relationship, and so on. Another month has passed. It's been a while since I last checked in, so I thought I'd give an update. Things have gotten better. I've been observing everything throughout the summer, emails and such, and there hasn't been anything suspicious that caught my attention. We've had our ups and downs, and things have somewhat improved. It's possible that it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. For now, things seem fine, but I'll remain vigilant as we move forward. Quick update. Things had been going better, so I hadn't posted recently. However, things have changed in the last few weeks. My wife's behavior has been inconsistent, sometimes affectionate and other times distant. We haven't been emotionally connected for the past 3 weeks. One change I've noticed is that she hired a new male trainer about a month ago, and that has been taking up a lot of her time. That's interesting. Anyway, his dad took his own life when he was just a toddler, so he carries a lot of emotional baggage. I'm doing my best to support him through it all. Meanwhile, I can't get the images of my wife with someone else out of my mind, and they're definitely not something you'd see in a PG-rated movie. I straight up asked her if she's ever thought about being with another guy, and she got really irritated with me. I don't want to push the issue without concrete evidence. I need to find a private investigator. I barely have 30 minutes each day for myself. It's hard to find time for anything funny. The more you work, the less time you have for happiness, fulfillment, and your relationship, and so on. Another month has passed. It's been a while since I last checked in, so I thought I'd give an update. Things have gotten better. I've been observing everything throughout the summer, emails and such, and there hasn't been anything suspicious that caught my attention. We've had our ups and downs, and things have somewhat improved. It's possible that it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. For now, things seem fine, but I'll remain vigilant as we move forward. Quick update. Things had been going better, so I hadn't posted recently. However, things have changed in the last few weeks. My wife's behavior has been inconsistent, sometimes affectionate, and other times distant. We haven't been emotionally connected for the past 3 weeks. One change I've noticed is that she hired a new male trainer about a month ago, and that has been taking up a lot of her time. I have several meetings each week. I haven't found any suspicious emails or anything, but there have been some recent red flags. We haven't been close for the past 3 weeks, which is longer than usual. The new male trainer she hired is acting hot and cold, more than usual. She just changed her Facebook password, and her cell phone is now locked with a password. It's time to try again. Maybe this time I'll catch something. Update. I discovered some activity where she's been talking to her sweetheart. Apparently, she's been having an affair with this guy on the side. It took me a while to find this out, but I'm glad I did. I'm just disgusted by it. I haven't confronted her yet. So far, I've only caught comments on the recording device. I want to gather more solid evidence before exposing everything. I don't want to reveal my suspicions too early. Also, I still don't know who the other person involved is. In the meantime, I'll seek legal advice. I'm already assessing my financial situation. A few months later, we're dealing with a lot of debt. We have credit card bills, a mortgage, a home equity loan, and a college loan. The college loan is for my daughter, and it's time to start repaying it. Additionally, my daughter has her own significant loans that she's taking on. I made the mistake of signing the loan without discussing it with my wife, and I know that was wrong. We've had other issues in our marriage that have contributed to this situation. My wife has spent a lot on her biological kids, and each of them has more money saved up for college than my own kids do. The difference in our financial situations has always been a problem, and we weren't communicating well back then. This was around 4 years ago. However, since then, our relationship has greatly improved. Anyway, about 6 months ago, I opened up to her about it, and she was furious. She basically cut me off. Every now and then, she'll act loving towards me, and we'll be close. But right after that, she gives me the cold shoulder, and I'm back in her bad books. I've stopped tolerating this behavior. I don't want to be someone's plaything. In the past few months, she's mentioned divorce a few times, even though she still loves me. I think she's developed a love-hate relationship with me. We've been attending counseling sessions, and I've been taking on more responsibilities around the house to help out and prove that I'm not a terrible person. For what it's worth, my salary is generally a bit higher than hers. The bottom line is, I'm getting tired of being treated like this. I feel that I should have some discretion with my income, and it's my choice to help my daughter with her college debt. I'm considering splitting our finances, where I'll take care of the college loan and still contribute at least 50% towards our household expenses. It's clear that our communication issues have brought us to this point, but I don't plan on being the bad guy forever. Every time we have disagreements, the topic of this loan is brought up, and it's used against me as a weapon. Counseling has helped calm things down, but it doesn't seem to be the ultimate solution. I acknowledge that mishandling the college finances was my mistake. I fear that I've seriously damaged our marriage. There hasn't been much change yet. My wife has taken on extra shifts to save for her kids' college and a new car. She always makes sure to express how tired and overwhelmed she is, and how life sucks. It's very passive-aggressive, without directly accusing me of ruining her life. She has even mentioned the idea of moving out a few times in the past 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I can't work overtime since I'm on a fixed salary. I'm in the process of refinancing the house. I've stopped buying anything enjoyable for myself, and I've been cutting back on our expenses. It's bad enough that we're both unhappy, but not quite enough to consider splitting up. The thing that bothers me the most is her constant negativity. As soon as she wakes up in the morning, she starts complaining about how terrible her day is going to be. Everything becomes a problem. Her parents, the kids, the economy. Nothing is good enough. She feels restricted from traveling and so on. I think part of the issue is that her older sister is married and always going on exciting adventures. She sees that and thinks, what the hell? We've been married for 10 years now, and we've been regularly attending couples counseling for the past 3 years. Even before everything fell apart, there are moments when she gives me a kiss and says, I love you. But most of the time she seems distant and absorbed in her own world. She has started working more days and taking extra shifts to help with our finances, which only creates more distance between us. Unfortunately, as a salaried employee, I can't earn overtime pay. I'm actively looking for a weekend job to contribute, but so far, I haven't had much luck finding one that fits my current schedule. One source of her anger is that she feels she's working harder while I'm not doing enough. This has been going on for about 8 months now. Interestingly, all the extra money she's been earning from overtime and such has been going into her biological kid's college savings and her daughter's expenses for studying abroad this past year. Life is tough. She hasn't contributed a single dollar towards the college loan that I signed for. It just became due last month, and I've started using my own discretionary income to make the payments. She plans on working overtime for the next 8 years to ensure her kids have no loans, all while holding it over my head. Just 2 days ago, we had another counseling session where she accused me of betraying her trust and was still furious about the whole situation. My wife is definitely a fighter. Before we got married, she had been a single mother for 4 years, and she had her own way of doing things. Her approach to problem solving was to take everything on herself and tackle them head on, like a superwoman. It's admirable, but it comes at a cost for me. There's very little teamwork, and she ends up taking on too much and becoming resentful. Over time, she sees herself as the superwoman while I feel diminished in her eyes. I recognize this pattern and have been trying to address it, but haven't been very successful yet. A few months later, here's a quick update for now, and I'll provide more details later. We're currently attempting to rebuild our relationship. The other man has been exposed, and as far as I know, he is no longer in the picture. Our relationship is quite shaky at the moment, and the OM is still a possibility depending on how things unfold. I haven't filed for divorce yet, but I've made all the necessary preparations, and I've made it clear to my wife that divorce is still an option I'm considering. I apologize for my long absence. Life has kept me incredibly busy, 24/7, over the past few months. It's been a constant juggle between family matters, my wife's issues, work stress, illness, and stress related to the kids. I've been negligent in keeping up with posting updates. Unfortunately, I've had to work overtime for the past few months, and I'm still doing so. By the time I come home, I'm often completely exhausted, especially considering everything that's been happening at home. A few months ago, I discovered that my wife was talking with another man, although I didn't catch his name. Instead of confronting her right away, I decided to play it cool and gather more evidence while staying under the radar. I reactivated the car's surveillance and patiently waited. There wasn't much on the cell phone records, so I suspected she might be using a burner phone. My goal was to find out the guy's name before confronting my wife. I was extremely cautious, and it took me a few weeks. But finally, I overheard a conversation on the VR headset between my wife and one of her girlfriends. They were discussing the other man, and my wife mentioned his name. It was a breakthrough moment. The conversation lasted about 45 minutes, mostly revolving around the affair. Apparently, my wife was breaking the news to her friend, and her friend wasn't taking it lightly. My wife mentioned that she was ending things with the guy because she felt too guilty and didn't want to hurt our family. Based on their conversation, I believed her. It was good news to hear. However, she also spoke about how the other man was amazing in bed, attractive, and a better lover than me, which made it difficult for her to end the affair. That was the bad news. It wasn't enjoyable to learn that the friend seemed displeased and was giving her a hard time during their phone conversation. Yeah, the next day I confronted my wife about it, and we had a full-blown discussion where everything was laid out on the table. She was upset about her own behavior and how it got revealed, which is now impacting her family. The kids have noticed that something's going on, but they're handling it okay. Turns out she met this guy at a sporting event, another athlete, and they were secretly seeing each other. They would rendezvous in his car and go to his place, which is why I never caught them on the VR or with the car's GPS. He's single, divorced, and has no kids, so there was no risk of exposure for him. For better or worse, I made her provide me with details. She tried to downplay and sweep it under the rug, but after a few days and lots of tears from her side, I pieced together that it was just a short-term fling. They both knew it wouldn't last, but my WW was caught up in the fog and went for it. There were plenty of unpleasant details. The whole thing is still so fresh and painful for me that I feel numb most of the time. My wife has been very apologetic and seems committed to making amends. She's acting remorseful, and we're going to seek help. She's showing a desire to stay and work on our marriage. I believe the affair is over. She appears to have snapped out of it. I don't really know the other man but I had my wife send him a letter and turn in her burner phone. She has been transparent with her email, Facebook, and cell phone, and I think she's out of the fog. However, I've become more cautious and less naive. The hardest part is the loss of trust. I don't want to live my life constantly worrying that my wife might be involved with someone else. That's where I currently stand. I'll give it some time and see if this feeling of suspicion diminishes. I got tested for STDs, and fortunately, the results were negative. Thank goodness for that. I'm not saying that I've completely forgiven her. Divorce is still a possibility. But for now, I want to see if there's any hope for our relationship before completely giving up. I still have feelings for her, or at least I think I do. I have a lot of conflicting emotions to work through. She insists that it was a one-time mistake, and I had no evidence or suspicion of trouble in the past. Yet I'm furious that it even happened once. I'm actively working on exposing the other man and trying to gather information about his contacts. He doesn't have a Facebook account, and besides being an athlete she met at one of her races, there's no connection between him and our town, her workplace, the gym, or our social circles. Moving forward, we've agreed that she won't attend such events alone anymore. She'll go with me. That's the agreement we've reached so far. I've informed my wife's sister and brother-in-law, so now they are aware and upset with her, expressing deep concern for our marriage. Our youngest child is turning 16 soon, and I had been looking forward to the empty nest phase, but now that seems impossible. Last night, DW and I had another conversation about our relationship and the affair. She couldn't provide any explanation other than being caught up in the physical attraction, losing her common sense and moral compass. I haven't mentioned yet that I know about her comments regarding the other man being a better lover. I want to keep my sources of information to myself for now. I don't think she's aware of the VR recordings. I did dig for more details, and unfortunately I found out more than I needed. It's going to haunt my mind for quite some time. It turns out this affair had been going on for several months, involving unprotected act. Moreover, she engaged in activities with him that she never did with me in bed. I suspect there's still more to uncover, so I'm not finished with my investigation. We've started attending marriage counseling, and both of us have shown a commitment to it. To her credit, she has expressed deep remorse and acknowledged the pain she caused. I believe divorce is on the horizon. I simply don't think I can overcome this. The details she shared with me were overwhelming. I'm beginning the 180 inches approach to help myself, and will schedule a meeting with my counselor. Tomorrow, I'll be meeting with a lawyer to discuss moving forward with the proceedings, which will take place a week later. It's all in progress. I found a good lawyer and had the divorce papers served to her at home. She took it really hard, and there was a lot of emotional turmoil and distress. We've been going back and forth with arguments, long conversations, and airing our grievances for over a week. It's pretty much settled now. It's divorce all the way. I've made the decision that I no longer need this in my life, and I don't want her back anyway. She has become almost indifferent about our breakup. There are still many gaps in her explanations that she refuses to fill in. She has moved out and is staying with a female friend. Over the past month or so, I've been emotionally drained, but now I'm in a much better place since I have a plan and a resolution, even if it means going through a divorce. It feels like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. It's tough, but I know I can handle it. Some days are really tough to get through. The kids are struggling with the situation, but they're doing as well as can be expected. They're staying with me in the house. We've worked out an arrangement where my soon-to-be ex-wife comes over every day to spend time with the kids, but doesn't linger around. I'm aware that she still has a relationship with the other man, but at this point, I don't check up on her anymore, and I don't care to. It still hurts, though. Nevertheless, practicing the 180 inches approach has been incredibly beneficial for me. We've stopped attending marriage counseling since I no longer saw the point in it. Instead, I focus on myself and my own well-being. When I look in the mirror, it helps keep me grounded. I did confront the other man, both over the phone and through email. I sarcastically congratulated him for being a homewrecker and an inspiration to men everywhere. He seemed apologetic, remorseful, and has been keeping a low profile ever since. Based on what I know, I truly believe it was my WW who pursued him and initiated the affair. That doesn't excuse his behavior, but my main focus is on what my wife did to me. I can't waste much energy on the other men involved. I also suspect that my wife had a previous affair, perhaps about a year before this one. This is my belief after reflecting on the changes in her behavior over the past. Needless to say, our emotional connection has been non-existent for a while. She's physically attractive, in good shape, and can be charming when she wants to be, but I no longer care about that. I did confront her about the conversation I overheard, and she was horrified and apologetic. I think she was more shocked that I had heard the conversation and caught her than anything else. We've had discussions with the kids, and they're aware that we're separating because their mom wants to spend more time with the other man and seeks happiness elsewhere. I'm taking the high road when it comes to the kids and refraining from speaking negatively about their mother. They're old enough to understand what's happening already. It's surprising how disconnected she has become and how easily she's accepting the situation. I have a feeling that karma will catch up with her sooner than she expects once the divorce is finalized. My focus is on the kids and sorting out the necessary details. Since our youngest child is nearly 16, child support won't be an ongoing issue for much longer. My wife earns almost as much as me, so she shouldn't require much financial support. WW isn't planning on playing hardball in terms of finances or the kids. She seems infatuated with the other man and is reveling in her newfound sense of freedom. The other man isn't from this area, so it will take time for me to locate his family and gather more information. I'm working on it, though. I no longer have the VR set up in her car since she moved out, and it's difficult to gain access to her vehicle. Besides, I'm no longer actively collecting evidence. Since the divorce process is already underway, I probably wouldn't have shown her the VR recordings if I hadn't already filed for divorce. I do know that she doesn't spend much time at her friend's apartment, so I assume she's spending time with her new love interest there. I frequently drive by to check for her car. I'm aware of her work schedule, and the car being present indicates that she's using it for more than just work purposes. Am I becoming too fixated on this? I hope not. At some point, I have to let go, or it'll consume me in some way. Honestly, I don't really care anymore since it won't be my problem for much longer. However, it's not easy to switch off my emotions, and the anger and pain are still intense. So far, she has been responsible and hasn't exposed the kids to the other man. She does spend time with them, but it has become awkward because they know the truth and aren't pleased with her. I'm taking the high road and hoping that over time, the kids will recognize and appreciate that. One thing that bothers me is how incredible she looks since our breakup. She's gotten into even better shape, dresses more stylishly, and seems to have boundless energy. She appears 10 years younger and turns heads even more. I guess it must be all that clean living. But seriously, where was all of this when we were married? Maybe her new romantic interest is exceptionally well endowed, leaving me no chance. It infuriates me to no end, but I'm sticking to the 180 inches approach and not acknowledging it to her. I'm starting to think that maybe she's doing it to get under my skin and twist the knife a bit. Thankfully, my support network is helping me navigate through these emotions. I can't wait for the divorce to be finalized so I can gain more closure and finally say goodbye with a strong sense of relief. I've had fleeting thoughts about seeking revenge through an affair, but they're not serious. Sometimes, when I'm feeling all right, I can imagine myself moving forward and finding a new girlfriend. However, I need to get through the divorce first. It's also important for the sake of the kids that I refrain from dating until the divorce is finalized. I need to be a positive role model for them. I know from my experience being married to her that when she desires closeness, she can be quite insatiable. She was always more passionate than me in that regard, but those days are long gone for me, that's for sure. Unfortunately, these thoughts only fuel my imagination, picturing them together or imagining writing to him. Anyway, enough of that. It all sucks because she appears to be content while I'm miserable, trying to take the high road, despite the hardships. I'm just hoping that karma catches up with her sooner or later. I also believe that once all of this is behind me, I'll find myself with a better woman in the end. Lately, I've been hitting the gym and started taking antidepressants to focus on myself. Well, I found out she went out of state for a weekend trip to participate in a marathon. I hope she pulls a muscle. I think her heartthrob also ran in the race. That's all right, though. I'm doing fine, keeping myself occupied. Last night, I took my sons to see a playoff hockey game. We had a blast. It's funny, but in the past 10 years since we got married, I've had a few local women, who I've known as friends or acquaintances, flirt with me. Some were quite forward and tempting. However, I stayed faithful and resisted those temptations. I made it clear that I was committed to my marriage and took the high road. Maybe I was foolish all along. Lately, I've been feeling empowered since I made her leave. I've separated our finances and now have more control over everything. She seems annoyed that I'm becoming more independent. I can't wait for the divorce to be finalized. I think I'll enjoy dating again and experiencing life outside of her narrow world. I've left out some details about our interactions. Maybe when I feel stronger, I'll share more. She's quite a character and plans to sell the house due to too many painful memories associated with it. Besides, I can't afford it on my own. We've agreed to split everything equally. Can you believe it? Just tonight she called me while drunk and started berating me. It was amusing, to be honest. She was lecturing me about integrity in our family. I couldn't help but say, "Really? Did you think about that when you slept with someone else?" She didn't find it funny and got all angry with me. Quick update. I'm doing well with my new lifestyle, still waiting for the divorce to be finalized. I've had a few encounters with her when dealing with the kids and house matters. She's putting on a good facade, but I can sense that things aren't going smoothly for her. Every now and then, she bombards me with texts, expressing how much she misses us and suggesting we should get back together. She apologizes and says she loves me. In the past, I might have fallen for it, but now I find it almost comical. A few weeks ago, I responded to one of those messages by sending her a picture of someone blowing a raspberry. It made me chuckle. She called me and started venting on the phone, saying hurtful things like how she used to think about him when we were close, and how being with him in bed made it impossible for her to come back to me. But those words don't hurt as much anymore. It's not my responsibility to make her happy. She's undeniably attractive in a wholesome, girl-next-door way, and I'm sure she's receiving plenty of attention. I bet she's realizing that the fun life she thought she wanted feels empty. I even sent a letter to the other man, congratulating him on his new catch. I included some humorous remarks at the end. It was quite therapeutic for me. A month later, I've been working overtime and focusing on my divorce proceedings. The kids are doing fine and seem to be accepting the fact that we're getting divorced. Their age definitely helps with that. I consider it fortunate that I have a busy work schedule. It allows me to immerse myself in my job and temporarily escape from my personal life for a significant portion of the day. My interactions with my soon-to-be ex-wife have been civil and limited to necessary discussions about the children and divorce plans. She still appears to be in denial and shows minimal remorse. She frequently apologizes and occasionally gets emotional when I see her. The last time we met was a brief financial meeting. Despite her efforts to look great and put on a smile, it doesn't affect me much. You can dress up a hamburger with sauce, but it's still just a hamburger. I believe she has been intermittently sleeping with the other man. I can't wait for the divorce to be finalized so that she becomes someone else's problem. After a long break, I'm back with an update. The divorce is now complete. It's been a while, and I'm feeling pretty good at the moment. Work has kept me occupied, and I've been dedicating a lot of time to self-improvement and fixing up the house as much as I can. I plan to focus on renovating the house throughout the fall and winter, and then list it for sale in the spring. Keeping myself busy with these tasks helps keep my mind occupied, which is beneficial for me. I'm completely over wanting her back, but I have to admit that I still have moments of intense anger, which isn't productive. I now see her as less attractive and realize that I had put her on a pedestal for far too long. That's never a healthy mindset. I decided to try out Match.com and have been going on a few dates recently. I've met some attractive women and also some interesting and unique individuals. It's been fun, but I'm keeping things casual. I don't want to rush into any emotional attachments. Plus, I don't feel fully prepared for that yet. As for my ex-wife, she seems a bit lost at the moment. She came by one night about a month ago to discuss matters related to the kids, but it was clear she had ulterior motives. She showed up with a bottle of wine, dressed provocatively, and fully made up. I didn't fall for her act. Honestly, she looked like someone trying too hard. We kept the conversation strictly focused on business for about 15 minutes. Then I made an excuse that I needed to get ready for a dinner engagement. She kept trying to bring up the topic of us getting back together, but after another 10 minutes, I asked her to leave. She didn't seem angry, just incredibly sad as she walked away. It appeared she was hoping for a dramatic reconciliation that would potentially open the door for starting over. Not gonna lie, it bothered me more that night than when I actually saw her. It made it hard to fall asleep. I kept questioning how I ended up in this situation. But hey, I think her other man dumped her because I haven't heard about them being together in a while. Probably had some performance issues and deflated like a sad balloon right in front of her. It's a horrific image, but it gives me a good laugh and boosts my mood. Oh, and I did something else too. I sent another letter, but this time it was a little prank. I wrote a fake list of instructions for taking care of my ex-wife when she gets sick. I went into gross detail about her imaginary hemorrhoid problems that supposedly last for days. I told the other guy that I was concerned for her well-being and how lucky she was to have him by her side during those tough times. It was all made up, of course, but it cracked me up while writing it. It's just a harmless way to mess with their heads a bit, but I'm going to stop doing that now. I don't want to cross any lines and get myself into trouble. By the way, what do you guys think about OP's final letter to the other man?